Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the geography of Rajasthan. Now, when most people think of Rajasthan, they picture harsh, unforgiving deserts. And while that's absolutely true, it's also a place that holds the key to India's renewable energy future. We're going to peel back the layers of India's largest state, looking at its physical landscapes, its economy, and its people. It is a wildly fascinating story about how ancient geology and extreme climates have literally shaped human resilience and fueled modern industrial growth. We'll be using some highly detailed academic source material to guide us, but don't worry, we're going to break it all down step by step so it makes perfect sense.
Okay, to truly understand Rajasthan, you first have to wrap your head around its massive scale. We're talking 342,239 square kilometers. That means this one single state accounts for over 10% of India's entire landmass. To put that into perspective, it's actually slightly larger than the entire country of Germany. Because it's so vast, sitting right there in the northwestern part of the subcontinent, you get these crazy local variations, like a full 36-minute difference in solar time just going from its eastern border to its western edge. Plus, it shares a highly strategic 1,070-kilometer international border with Pakistan, known as the Radcliffe Line, while also bumping up against 5 different Indian states.
So, here is how we're going to tackle this dense academic material today. First, physical landscapes and climate. Then, water, soil, and agriculture. Third, resources and industrial growth. Fourth, demographics and tribal heritage. And finally, infrastructure and development.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Physical Landscapes and Climate. Honestly, the physical structure of the land dictates almost everything else about how life operates here.
Geographically, the state is carved up into 4 main regions. First up is the vast western sandy plain, basically the Thar Desert, which dominates over 61% of the entire state. We're talking endless shifting sand dunes and extreme aridity. Then, slicing right through the middle like a giant spine, is the Aravalli Range. These mountains date all the way back to the Precambrian era, making them some of the absolute oldest relict fold mountains on Earth. Head east of the mountains and you hit the Eastern Plains, covering about 23% of the state. This area is highly fertile thanks to rich river deposits. Finally, tucked down in the southeast, you have the Hadoti Plateau. This is a rugged landscape formed by ancient volcanic lava flows, something geologists call the Deccan Trap.
Because the physical terrain is so varied, the climate is a land of total extremes. If you look at the Köppen's climate classification, the contrast is mind-blowing. Out in the extreme west, places like Jaisalmer and Bikaner are in a hyper-arid desert zone getting less than 20 centimeters of rain a year. But travel down southeast to Banswara or Dungapur, and suddenly you're in a tropical humid zone where rainfall tops 80 centimeters. Now, 90% of that rain comes from the southwest monsoon, but there's also a really crucial winter rain called Mawats. It's driven by Mediterranean disturbances, and without it, winter crops like wheat would absolutely fail.
Moving right along to Section 2, Water, Soil, and Agriculture. When you're dealing with such crazy climatic extremes, just finding water and keeping the soil healthy becomes an incredible story of human resilience.
Get this stat. Rajasthan possesses just 1.16% of India's total surface water. For the country's largest state, that is exceptionally low. And the water it does have, it behaves really strangely. A massive 60% of the state's drainage is entirely inland. That means seasonal rivers, like the Ghaggar, literally flow for a bit and then just vanish, sinking directly into the desert sands before they ever reach an ocean. The rest of the water is split. About 23% flows towards the Bay of Bengal, thanks to the perennial Chambal River and the local Banas River. The remaining 17% heads toward the Arabian Sea. That includes the Luni River, which is wild because its freshwaters actually turn highly saline as they drag through the desert salt.
So, how do they survive with so little surface water? Well, outside of relying heavily on groundwater, they've pulled off some colossal engineering feats. The Indira Gandhi Canal project is the ultimate example of human ingenuity here. It pulls water from the rivers up in Punjab and runs for 649 kilometers. It is the literal lifeline of the Thar Desert, irrigating over 16 lakh hectares. That's roughly 3.9 million acres. It's turned endless stretches of barren sand into green farmland. On top of that, you have massive joint ventures like the Chambal Valley Project and the Mahi Bajaj Sagar Project, which not only provide essential irrigation, but also generate much-needed hydroelectric power.
Thanks to that massive irrigation push, Rajasthan has built an incredibly robust agricultural backbone. They've perfectly adapted to their environment. During the Kharif, or monsoon season, Rajasthan leads the entire nation in producing bajra, which is pearl millet, a hardy, drought-resistant crop that thrives in sandy western soils. But then, in the winter, or Rabi season, the state uses its fertile eastern plains to produce over 40% of India's entire mustard crop. It's a brilliant example of matching crop selection to completely unique soil and climate conditions.
All right, Section 3, Resources and Industrial Growth. Layering on top of the physical geography and farming is the immense wealth hidden just beneath the soil.
Because of those ancient Precambrian geological formations we talked about earlier, Rajasthan is literally known as a museum of minerals. The state produces a staggering 81 different minerals. In fact, it holds a 100% national monopoly on some highly critical resources. We're talking lead-zinc, which is essential for batteries, jasper, a gorgeous red gemstone, and wollastonite, a heat-resistant mineral used in ceramics and car brakes. And we can't forget its world-renowned dimension stones, the pristine white marble used to build the Taj Mahal. Yeah, that was quarried right here in Makrana, over in the Nagar district.
This geological treasure trove is exactly what's fueling rapid industrialization. Take that harsh desert sun. Instead of just enduring it, they've turned it into a massive asset. Rajasthan is now first in India for installed solar potential, boasting the sprawling Badla Solar Park, which generates a massive 2,245 megawatts. Beneath the desert sands in Barmer is the Mangala oil field, which is the largest onshore oil discovery in the whole country. Those mineral monopolies, they feed heavy industries like Asia's largest zinc and lead melting facility at Chandriya. And it's not all just heavy metals. Historically, places like Bhilwara have grown so much, they are literally known as the textile city of India for their cotton processing. Okay, let's pivot to Section 4, Demographics and Tribal Heritage. Let's introduce the 68.54 million people who actually live in this challenging environment. Even with all that rapid industrialization and solar energy booming, the occupational data shows us that the core of the state remains very traditional. A dominant 62% of the workforce is still deeply tied to the primary sector. That means they make their living working directly with the land, through agriculture, mining, and livestock. Speaking of which, Rajasthan ranks second in India overall for livestock, and holds the absolute #1 position for camels and goats. Which makes total sense, right? Those animals are perfectly suited for a pastoral lifestyle in an arid region. But because the physical geography is so drastically varied, the population distribution is incredibly uneven. Geography dictates where you live. For example, look at Jaipur. It's a bustling, highly fertile urban heartland packed with 595 persons per square kilometer. Contrast that with the vast, hyper-arid desert expanse of Jaisalmer, which supports a mere 17 persons per square kilometer. Literally, where the water and the fertile plains are, people gather. Where the desert rains, the population thins out dramatically. Adding an incredible layer of cultural richness to these demographics are the indigenous tribes, who make up over 13% of the state's population. They're mostly concentrated in the Aravalli Mountains and the southern plains. The Meena tribe is the largest, mostly in the east, and they boast the highest literacy and socioeconomic integration. Then you have the Bhils, the ancient inhabitants of the southern Aravallis, who are historically famous for their archery skills. The Garassia tribe is known for highly unique marriage customs, including long-term live-in relationships before any formal marriage takes place. And then there are the Sahriya in the Baran district. The government actually identifies them as a particularly vulnerable tribal group, meaning they require special protection to maintain their traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyle deep in the forests.
However, we've got to talk about a major developmental hurdle highlighted by the demographic data. The overall literacy rate in the state sits at around 66%, but what is deeply concerning is the glaring gender gap. While male literacy approaches 80%, female literacy is struggling at just 52.12%, and it's even lower when you look at rural areas specifically. Bridging this gap is absolutely crucial. It's not just a social goal, it's one of the state's most pressing necessities for future growth. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Infrastructure and Development. Let's look at how all these layers, the geography, the resources, and the people, intersect to shape the future.
When you break the state down by region, you can brilliantly see cause and effect in action. The physical environment directly dictates the economic reality. In the harsh Marustali desert out west, they harness the sun and wind for renewable energy, while pastoralism dominates the farms. In the Aravallis, the ancient rocks provide metallic minerals and fuel ecotourism. The fertile eastern plain naturally supports intensive agriculture and massive textile manufacturing. And down in the Hadatu Plateau, the black soils and heavy rains are perfect for growing cash crops like soybean, alongside thermal power generation. Geography truly is destiny here.
But that destiny is undergoing a rapid, modern transformation. Massive infrastructure projects like the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor, which passes right through the state, are paving the way for massive economic change. Because of this, Rajasthan is steadily pushing up its rank in the medium human development category. We're seeing aggressive state healthcare schemes successfully driving down maternal and infant mortality rates. There's a massive shift happening right now from traditional rain-fed subsistence farming to mechanized, irrigated agriculture. And perhaps most importantly, targeted state programs are actively working to break down those sociocultural barriers to improve female education and boost local entrepreneurship. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought based on everything we've uncovered today. We have seen how Rajasthan's barren deserts secretly hold oceans of oil and boundless solar potential, and how its ancient, weathered mountains hold the critical minerals of tomorrow. So, how will a land built on such extreme climatic hardships continue to turn its harshest elements into its absolute greatest strengths for the future? It's a question of resilience and innovation that will define Rajasthan for decades to come. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.